This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Want a great website? Use Squarespace. The Madman! Welcome to a custom card review. These were the custom Hearthstone cards that were the top cards at the end of 2018, week of December 29th. Yes, we are catching up. We'll get there eventually. Hellion Drake, 5 mana, 4/5, immune, dragon. At the start of your turn, silence this minion. What does that mean? You play it, your opponent can't interact with it because it's immune. And then at the beginning of your turn, it's 4/5. You know what that reminds me a lot of? Stranglethorn Tiger, 5 mana, 5/5 stealth. Virtually unable to be destroyed also. And by the way, immune doesn't save you from destroy all minions or destroy a random minion still. So given the comparison and how Stranglethorn Tiger is so much like Hellion Drake, I'll give the design 3 stars. Balance 4 stars in the sense that, like Stranglethorn Tiger, it could be a 5 mana, 5/5. Some interesting notes for those of you who didn't know. Immune taunts can't be attacked. It's kind of like giving a stealth a taunt. So if you were to give your Hellion Drake taunt, it would not work. Tazgol the Two-Handed, a hero card for Warlock, 8 mana. Discarding a card adds a copy of it to your other hand. Battlecry, add another hand, and draw 5 cards to it. Your hero power becomes 0 mana, switch hands. Switch your current hand with your other hand. Now the flavor is really cool on it, in the sense that, wow, you actually have 2 hands. And then you can switch behind them. The downside is the 5 cards are sometimes difficult to use with your hand in the case that you need to like weave in cards here and then there. It's also really difficult to design. Like you would need a preview of your other hand. You can't really fit a preview of your other hand on mobile, and that is really important to consider. And then you would actually need to be able to swap hands. And I think the payoff is not worth it, as clever as the card is. So for Tazgol, I'll give it design 2 stars. The balance, 3 stars. I think that you would actually need to increase the mana of this, perhaps to 9 mana, since right now it is very much like Ultimate Infestation. Also, I will mention that discarding a card, adding a copy of it to your other hand is probably not really that impactful, but also an interesting addition. Terrible Take, 2 mana, 2/3. Your other minions have taunt. Fun fact, Sunfury Protector used to have Battle Cry. Your other minions have taunt. This, however, is a persistent aura while it's on the board. Everything else tanks instead of the Terrible Take. And I think the flavor on that is really cool. Design, 5 stars. Balance, 5 stars. Frostworm's Call. 4 mana mage, spell Echo, freeze all minions. If a minion is already frozen, destroy it. Really cool Echo idea in the sense that the first time you cast it, it just is Frost Nova, although it freezes your stuff also. And then the second time you cast it, it's like a completely different effect because you destroy all minions that are frozen. I really like the flavor on that. I'm gonna give the design on that 5 stars. And the balance is a bit much right now because at worst, it's a Twisting Nether. 8 mana, destroy all minions. You just cast it and cast it again. But you could combo this with Frost Nova to clear the board for 7 mana, clear the enemy's board even. Yeah, it's just a bit overtuned right now. Balance, 2 stars. I think it needs to be 5 mana. Which means that the combo of destroy all minions would cost 10 mana. Which actually, to be fair, makes the card pretty bad. So it's got this weird part where I think 4 mana is too good, but 5 mana is too bad. But still, I think you need to print it at 5 mana. And it's still cool enough that it would just be printed as a bad card. There's also just the general idea that at 4 mana, another copy of Frost Nova could push like the good old days of Freeze Mage being non-interactive to be too much. Orgriz Crookmaw. Hunter 3 mana, 3/2 charge. Battlecry, give the enemy hero taunt this turn. Really cool idea. Hunters have always wanted to go face. Well, you know, before the last 6-8 months of Hearthstone. Orgriz takes Face Hunter back to its roots. But there is a major problem with this card. Namely that it's so much better than Wolf Rider. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's a little bit worse than Wolf Rider in the sense that you have to hit face with it. And really, if you're playing Wolf Rider in your deck, you want the opponent's hero to have taunt. Blizzard has been continuously like printing fewer and fewer charge cards, so this is also a problem. It's just way overtuned at a 3 mana 3/2 charge with a very useful ability. So design 5 stars. I really like the idea of giving the enemy hero a taunt, and it's actually been done before in a brawl where you had a boss, an adventure even, where you basically had taunt on your face. So that could be done. And balance, 2 stars. I think it needs to be reduced all the way down to like a 3 mana 2/1. And I think it's okay for it to have charge, but 3 attack on 3 mana is too much. So some mix of 3 mana 2/1 or perhaps increasing the mana cost. The idea is great though. Omega Soar, 10 mana, 16/16 beast. Now the main problem with this card is that this is a beast, and beast can be cheated out, which makes it too much. If you got rid of the beast tag, I think this actually makes the card more interesting and actually fair. I think that a 10 mana 16/16 vanilla minion with no text on it and no tag is fair. Or you could even make it like a tag that traditionally doesn't have any way to cheat it out, something like a mech perhaps. Really big power creep on Ultra Soar, and Ultra Soar probably can get power crept a bit, but not by this much. That said though, 10 mana 16/16, no text, no tag, I think that actually works. Design 1 star, balance 1 star. Kidris, Dragon Chronicler. This is a dragon who tells a tale. You start off with 3 mana 2/2, and then you get to design either a 2, 4, or 6 mana 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7. You give it a buff, +2 attack, +2 health, or Battlecry deal 2 damage. You give it a slight nerf, lose 1 health, lose 1 attack, Death Rattle deal 2 damage to all friendly characters, and then you give it an ability, Divine Shield, Taunt, or Rush, thus creating so many different dragons you can make. The best ones I can think of on quick instinct would be something like a 2 mana 2/3 Battlecry deal 2, lose a health, and then it has Rush. So that would be 2 mana to be able to Battlecry deal 2 damage, and then Rush for 2 more damage, kind of being 2 mana deal 4. Or perhaps something like a 6 mana 6/7, which gains 2 health to be a 6 mana 6/9, loses 1 attack to be a 5/9, and then like you can give it taunt to be a big blocker, so 6 mana 5/9 taunt. That's pretty sweet. And then there's all of these medium case scenarios. I think the card is fairly balanced. 3 mana 2/2 draw an above average card is usually costing 4 mana. It just depends on how above average this is, and I think this is like borderline above average. Might be more like a Kazakus level in terms of 4 mana 3/3 draw a good card. My main problem with this is that there's actually too many choices and too many decisions with this. Like, it's a cool card, it tells a cool story, but isn't it a bit much to click 4 times and to remember all the combinations the moment you cast Kidris? I think it's just too over the top. Design, I'll give it 3 stars. I think it can be salvaged if you make 1 fewer decision, or perhaps even 2 fewer decisions. Balance, 4 stars. I think it's a little bit too strong. 4 mana 3/3 is actually okay. And yes, insert the joke about how I wouldn't have enough APM to even get through the selection of Kidris on a turn. Priest Legendary. Lieva the Scheming, 6 mana 6/8 Battlecry. Summon 3/1/3 Northshire Clerics for your opponent. So the extra stat line compensates for the fact that you give your opponents 3/9 worth of stats. So one of the more broken cards I've ever seen on the top cards of Custom Hearthstone. If you've ever played the Boomsday puzzles, you know how strong having your opponent go full Northshire is. And 3/1/3 Northshire Clerks, it's not even 2, it's 3 of them, which means that if you combo with something as simple as Spirit Lash with Circle of Healing, your opponent is drawing 12 cards. I don't think I need to say how ridiculous forcing your opponent to draw 12 cards is, but that's just the light part of it. If you manage to throw in a Pyromancer, and then you like actual Circle of Healing twice, casual draw 30 for your opponent. Anyways, needless to say, that's ridiculous. That said though, I think that the idea behind the card is really good, though currently super flawed. So I'll give the design 4 stars. The balance is 1 star. And my fix for this card would be tone down the battlecry summon 3/1/3 Northshire Clerics for your opponent down to 1/1/3 Northshire Cleric for your opponent. And then that might be pretty interesting, like maybe you can force them to overdraw. Now that I think about it though, due to the overdraw potential, we probably need even below Boulder Fist Ogre stats for this. Maybe like a 6 mana 5/5 or something. Curio Merchant. 4 mana 3/6, you can't discover neutral cards. Generally you do want to discover your class cards more, but you probably wouldn't find yourself wanting to dedicate a slot just to this, just to make sure you can discover your class cards. So it's in an interesting spot where this is distinctly in the pack filler category. If you make the vanilla stats too good, then it's just like a vanilla minion. Its effect is super minor. Design 4 stars, balance 5 stars. It's exactly the type of card that you would expect to see in a set. Maybe one that has more discover cards, one that's more discover heavy, and would never actually be played. Fun interesting note is Curio Merchant plus Stonehill Defender in Paladin would always ensure that you get some really good stuff. So there are some interesting applications to this card. Natural Selection, a druid 3 mana spell. Destroy a friendly minion with the lowest health, adapt your other minions. Really awesome flavor on this one. That said though, this card is simply evolving spores with a drawback. And you only cut 1 mana for that? Design 5 stars, balance 3 stars. I think it wants to be 2 mana. You could even arguably make it 1 mana because Grim Rally didn't see any play. But druids do have more ways to get massive amounts of tokens on the board traditionally, hence kind of their thing. So probably 2 mana to be safe. And finally, All Reliable. A warrior weapon, 1 mana 1/1, doesn't lose durability. If your deck has no other weapons, this starts in your hand. And by the way, this starts in your hand does not just mean that it's like a quest and it starts in your hand. The way that it was intended is that you extra draw it. If you don't mulligan into All Reliable, you will just get an extra card in your hand. You know, similar to those adventures in which you had the cards that always started in your hand. It's a King's Bane. Instead of 3 durability, it has infinite durability. Its only weakness is weapon destruction, and you get an extra card, which happens to be the best card in your deck, presumably All Reliable, in your hand for no extra cost. So, ridiculous! Design, I'm gonna give it a 2 star just because I can actually think of a way to salvage it, to make it potentially interesting, but it requires severe changing of the card. Balance 1 star. My proposed change. Lose the first line of doesn't lose durability. If your deck has no other weapons, this starts equipped. Then at the cost of not running any weapons in your entire deck, you get to start off the game with 1 damage. Kind of like a free rogue hero power almost. In fact, to mirror the rogue hero power, maybe you can make it a 1/2. My idea for All Reliable. Still keeps the flavor of it being very reliable. So there you have it, some really interesting cards here. I like the design of nearly all of them. Some of them are ridiculously OP, but that's what the balance team is. In terms of design, good designs.